Let me start sharing my screen. Let me know once the screen is visible. And yeah, today let's start with the discussion on the Power Query Editor, which is the inbuilt ETL tool within Power BI. Okay, so for that, first let me open a new instance of Power BI. So and yeah, once we start the Power BI, we will get this particular screen. And here, what I'll do is I'll choose a blank report. Okay. And before we start using the Power Query Editor, we have to do certain settings in the options within Power BI so that we can use Power Query Editor to its fullest. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll go to File, then I'll go to Options and Settings, then I'll go to Options. Okay. And here I'll make certain changes. Okay. So there'll be two things in options always, one under the global tab and other under the current file tab. So first I'll go to the global tab, and under the global tab in data load. Okay. Here I'll select the type detection as never. Okay. Never detect the column types and headers for unstructured sources because I want to manually do that. We will do it as a part of ETL. Okay. So I'll select this. Okay. And in the global itself, okay, uh, in the regional settings, okay, that is here, what I'll do is I'll make sure that the application language is English United States and model language is also set to the same. Okay, so these two things under global settings, and then I'll go to the current file. Under current file, the data load I'll check. Okay, and this one, detect the column types and headers for unstructured sources. This I will unselect. Okay, so this is one thing. And then import relationships, this also I'll unselect. And yeah, so this is what I'll do. And then again, I'll go to the regional settings under current file. I'll make sure that it is English United States. Okay, so this once you do, you can click on OK. However, yeah, so click on OK. Then after this, let's start bringing the file into the Power BI, and let's start doing the ETL by using the Power Query Editor tool within Power BI. Okay, so let's go to Get Data. Okay, and first I'll bring the CSV file. Okay, and it's called Orders 2017 Unprocessed. So I click on this and click on Open, and once I do that, I'll be given the preview to this particular file. Now this file, basically this table looks like this. And just by the look of it, we definitely know that this is a raw file which needs to be transformed or need to be done editing with. Okay, so what I'll do, if I click on load, it will directly load it into the Power BI, but I don't want it to be loaded directly. I want to transform this file and then load it into Power BI. So I'll click on transform data so that it will take me to Power Query Editor. Okay, or the window where I can actually transform the data, which is Power Query Editor itself. Okay. Now, just a second. Now, first of all, if you look at uh, this table, okay, if you look at this table, now I have one simple question to you. That is, which row do you think is the column header row? Yes, in this
Number
file,
5,
yes,
row 5, right?
row number 5 is the column header row, right?
Yes.
So the thing is that till row 5 or before row 5, do we need anything? This thing? These rows, do we need them?
Mm.
All right, because these itself are the headers. So before the headers, we don't need anything. So, okay. So what I'll do, okay. So I'll go to this option, remove rows. In remove rows, and look here in Power Query Editor, let me just give you a gist of this particular tool. Okay. Power Query Editor has two panes. One is the left side pane. In the left side pane, you can see the table names. Okay. And the table which is selected will be highlighted like this. And on the right hand side, there'll be applied steps. I'll tell you what the applied steps are. Okay. And if you look at the top toolbars, there are different tabs in the first place. One is the home tab, then there is transform tab, then there is add column tab, view tab, tool tab, help tab. Okay. Now, first things first, the transformations, most of the transformations will be done either in home tab or in transform tab. Okay. Then what happens in the add column tab? In case you want to add a new column based on certain other columns, then that can happen by using add column tab. Okay. And there are again view tabs and tool tabs as well. We'll discuss them later. Okay. So I'll come back to the home tab, and in the home tab, I have this remove rows option. I'll click on remove rows, and in here, I can remove some of the top rows. Okay, I'll click on remove top rows. Okay, and when I click on that, it'll ask me specify how many number of top rows should I delete. So in this case, how many rows should I delete? Yes,
4 rows.
4 rows is what I want to delete. So I'll enter 4 and I'll click on OK. So now you see the top 4 rows have been deleted. Okay. Now what's the next thing that needs to be done? Yes. This should be shifted as headers, right? This row number 1, it is not the row number 1, but it is actually the headers. Okay. So let us try doing that. So in the home tab itself, there is one option, that is this option, use first row as headers. Okay. So I'll select exactly that. I'll click on that. Now you see what has happened is the first row is now the header. As simple as that. Okay, it is headers. Okay. Now, after this, we have kind of made it a bit of the OKH table where compared to where it was earlier. Okay. Now, if you look at the data, what do you think are the next steps that need to be done? What do you think is not correct with respect to this data set? Yes. Do you find some irregularities?
Yes.
Yeah. What is that?
Uh, some fields are missing, and some data are like typed as not available.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
need to ETL.
Correct. Okay. Now, if you see, some of the rows are completely blank. If you look at the row number 1, it is completely blank from first column till the last column. Its entries are blank. Similar is the case. Same is the case with row number 6. If you look at row number 6, that row is completely blank. There is no record with respect to any other column. Okay. So what I'll do, again, I'll go to remove rows, and now I'll go to remove blank rows. And what this thing does, it removes all the blank rows, all the rows which are completely blank. Okay, so this is what it does. Now, let's talk about applied steps now. Now, if you see, as and when I'm doing certain transformations, those steps are getting applied here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I go to the first step, that is the source step, if I click on this, now you see what it is. It is exactly how we received that file. Then what we did, we went to second step. In second step, what we did, we moved top 4 rows. After that, the third step, what we did, we promoted the first row as header. And then when it comes to next step, what we did here was we removed the blank rows. Okay. So here, the right side pane which you're seeing, it includes all the transformations that you did step by step. Okay. And if you want to undo anything, okay, if you want to undo anything, it's quite simple here. You just need to click on the cross mark which you're seeing here. Can you see this cross mark? Let's say if I click on this cross mark, the previous transformation is gone. So again, if I had to do it, then remove rows, remove blank rows. Okay. So this is what the applied steps means. Okay. And if you want, you can rename the applied steps as well based on what you feel is right. Let's say instead of removed top rows, I want to mention it as removed top. How many rows removed? 4, right? So that you will understand what you exactly did in that particular step. Okay. So you can even rename that. And not just that, in some cases, you can alter the step as well. Alter in the sense edit step. Edit step is not available for each and every step, but however, for some steps it is available. If you look at this, there's a gear icon here. If you click on gear icon, you'll be taken exactly to that step. Now let's say instead of top 4 rows, if you want to remove top 5 rows, then you can do it. Okay. And if I do it, I'll click on OK. Now you see top 5 were gone, then promoted headers, the blank will be promoted, remove the blank rows. Okay. You can alter these steps which have the gear icon beside that. Now I'd like to bring it just the way it was earlier. Instead of 5, I'll make it 4. Okay. Again, it becomes just like how it was earlier. Okay. So this thing is done. Now, next thing. Okay. What's the next thing that needs to be done? Yes. In order to make it further clean. Yes.
Remove the not available field,
Yes.
and also the we don't have any data and miscellaneous details, so we can remove that column itself.
Yeah, correct. Okay. Now, first, what I'll do, look, in here, we have 2 rows where almost all the data is not available, right? So what I'll do is, there's no particular way in which I can remove not available rows. Okay. But what I can do instead, look, if you click on the drop down beside each column, let me click on the drop down beside this column. Now, if you go to the bottom, you'll be having the string values, and NA is nothing but the string value, right? Now, if I unselect this here, it means that will be filtered out. And if I click on OK, now you see those NAs have gone. And if I remove the NAs, if I filter out NAs from this column, it means the corresponding records from other columns also will be gone, right? So this is what you can do. Here, what I did, I filtered out NAs. Okay. Now, after that, I know there are some columns that need to be removed. But apart from that, is there something else as well?
Duplicates.
Come again?
Duplicates.
Duplicates, right? Now, if you
Yes.
see here, the row number 3, order ID is 3, order ID is 3, order ID is 3 for 3, 4, 5th rows. Here, the prod ID is also same. Okay. And here also, we have a similar kind of thing. Same is the case here, here, and here as well. And if I look at them, those rows are nothing but completely duplicates. Okay. And we need to remove the duplicates, because duplicates, the reason we need to remove duplicates is, what is that?
Quality of this.
First of all, look here. This order ID, this is the primary key. You know what is the primary key, right?
Yeah, it's a unique key.
Yeah. The primary key has the unique constraint. One of the constraint is that it should have the unique values always. Okay. And if we keep here the duplicate values, then the primary key constraint, we are not following that. So we have to always follow that. But also, we need to make sure that the rest of the records are also duplicates. Only then we can remove them. If the rest of the records are not duplicate, then it means that this is not a primary key this is not maintaining the primary key functionality. But however, you look here, the rest of the values are the duplicates as well. So what I can do, I can remove the duplicates. And the way to remove duplicates is quite simple. I'll go to remove rows and then I'll click on remove duplicates so that all the duplicates will be removed. Okay. So yeah, the duplicates rows have been removed now. Okay. Now, next, as you said, we have certain columns here which we do not need. Okay. Like, for example, we have the miscellaneous detail. This column, it has, let's check the values which are there in this. It has either blank or NA or null. Okay. And all of them are useless values. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll have to remove this. Okay. And there are different ways in which you can delete the columns. One is you can simply look here. Select this column which has to be removed. Then click on remove columns. Okay. If I click on remove columns, that will be removed, as simple as that. There is another way. Just right click on this and remove columns. Okay. And there's one more thing. If you select a particular column, and if you choose this one, remove other columns, then apart from this column, it will remove all the other columns. So this is what will happen. Okay. So what I want to do here is I'll just remove this column. Okay. And the next thing, I'll look at the next columns. The order ID is needed, product ID is needed, store ID is needed, and then order date is a useful column. Then the sales quantity, revenue is a useful column, stock, price, promotion type is a useful column. Let me check this column, bin. It has certain values, so let it be there. And then if I go to next column, promo type 2, this is also okay. Then bin 2 is what I want to check. Now, if I check the values within this column, bin 2, again, it either has the blanks or NAs. So which means I can definitely remove that. So I'll just click on remove this column. Okay. And then I'll click on this thing, that is this one. It also has either blanks or NA values. So this can be removed as well. Then the delivery date is needed, so let it be there. Okay. Now, we have only the columns that we need. Okay. And there's one more way, one more thing that needs to be told here. Look, the steps which are similar, okay, the steps which are similar, I'm talking about the applied steps. The applied steps which are similar will be consolidated into one step. I'll tell you what I mean. Okay, look here. Can you see one step that is removed columns? And in this one step, how many columns have been removed? Let me show you. If I undo this step, look, the bin 2 is appearing. Then the discount column is also appearing. But if you remember, I removed these two columns separately. Remember that?
Yes.
But however, those two steps have been consolidated into one single step. That is, Power BI, what it does, if it finds that two of the applied steps, if they are similar, right? If they are similar, then it will consolidate those steps into one single step. Am I clear on this part?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what Power BI does. And there's one more thing that needs to be told. That is the way in which the columns can be removed. Okay. Let me just undo this step. Okay. So here, there's one more option that says choose columns. Okay. Now in choose columns, there's again two options. One is choose columns, then there is go to column. If I look at choose columns, right? Okay. Now here, the columns which I don't choose, will be deleted. Okay. And in this case, what I want to delete, bin2 and discount. If I unselect them and click on OK, now you see those columns have been deleted. They're not there. Okay. And there's one more option here. In choose column, this thing called as go to column. And when this is used, let's say in your data set, there are more than 20, 30 columns. And if you are finding it hard to find the name of that, I mean, that particular column you want to go to and you're finding it hard to find it within this data set, then what you can do, you can go to choose columns. Under choose column, there's one more option, go to column. If you select go to column, you will be, greeted with this particular window wherein all the columns names will be listed. And let's say if I want to go to this particular promo type 2 column, click on OK, it will take you to that particular column. Okay, so this is what go to column means. Okay, it is a useful feature in case you have more number of columns, like let's say 20, 30 number of columns, that you can definitely use this. Okay, now let's come back to this. Okay, and if you look at the row number 26 and row number 28, okay, even though the order IDs are mentioned, do you think the other values of row number 26 and 28, are they in any way useful to us?
No.
No, right? They are either blanks or they are NAs. So the thing is, we can definitely remove these two records, that is 26 and 28. And how to do that? I'll just go to these values. First, I'll select 26 and I'll unselect that. Okay. And then I'll select 28 and I'll unselect that as well. And then I'll click on OK. Now you see those records will be gone. Okay. So basically we have removed all that we did not need in this. Okay. Any doubt till now?
No.
Okay. So yeah, what we have done is we have done so many applied steps here. First, the source was like this, then remove the top rows, promoted the headers, remove the blank rows, filtered rows, remove duplicates, filtered rows again, and then removed certain columns that we didn't need. And then again, we removed some other columns, and again, we filtered the rows. Okay. So this is what we have done till now. Let's proceed in doing some further transformations that we need. Okay. Now, after doing all these things, what do you think is the next step that needs to be done here? Yes.
Check for data type.
Exactly. Now look, we need to establish the data types. Okay. Now, first of all, we'll try to understand what kind of data this table is. Okay. So if you look at the column names, the order ID, prod ID, store ID, order date, and sales quantity, revenue, stock, price, promotion type, bin, promotion type 2, then delivery date. So it is clear that this is a sales data. Okay. There is nothing but the details of all the sales that have happened. Okay. Or basically the transactions. Okay. So we'll try to set the data types so that it makes sense to us. Okay. Now, if you look at the order ID or the values which are there in the order ID, what do you think should be the data type of the order ID?
Number.
Number, right? So the way to do that is you click on the ABC. Now, what is this ABC? If you look at each column and the left-hand side portion of that, ABC, this is nothing but the data type. Okay. And it will change. ABC means the string data type. Currently, everything has been set by default to string data type. Okay. But if you want to change it, you can do it. I'll click on ABC. Now I can change the data type to the way I want it to be, and I want it to be whole number. Now, once I do that, if you see this, order ID previously was ABC, that is string, and currently it is 123, that is what? A whole number. Okay. And one more thing I'll just tell you. Look here, the column profiling. If you see here, the column profiling based on top 1000 rows. Okay. However, you can set it based on the entire data set. Now, what does this mean? You will have the preview of the entire data set now, not just the top 1000 rows. Okay. If you select based on entire data set, you will have the preview of the whole data set, not just top 1000 rows. Else, you'll be looking at only top 1000 rows, not the whole data set. Okay. So that is one more thing. Now, coming to prod ID, what do you think is the data type of prod ID?
Actually, it's a mix of numbers and
Yeah, mix of the numbers and the string. So it is string, right? If
yes,
it is a mixture of number and string, then it is string, and it is rightly mentioned as ABC. So let's not disturb it. Similar is the case with store ID, right? So let it be the string as well. Now, when it comes to order date, what do you think that is?
we need to change it to date.
Order ID, order date basically is the date, right? So I'll click on ABC and I'll make it date. Excuse me. So I made the order date as the date type, data type column. Okay. Now, coming to next point. Okay. So if you look here, the sales quantity. Usually, if we talk about sales quantity, what kind of data type should it be? The sales quantity?
It should be number.
It should be number, right? But here, can we make it a number?
We can remove the sales.
Right?
We can
See,
remove the
it has
sales and
certain
we can change
string.
it to number.
Yeah, it has certain string attached to it, and that's the reason we cannot make it number directly. However, if you are able to remove this second part, that is space sales, then we can certainly make this as a number. Okay, so let's try doing that. Okay, so what I'll do, there's a thing called as replace values. Okay, I'll click on this, and there is a thing called as replace values. I'll click on replace values. Okay, and first of all, I need to enter the value to be found. What's the value that is to be found here? Yes,
Okay.
space sales. And the space sales needs to be replaced with nothing.
Okay.
Okay? Nothing. I'll just click on OK. Now you see it has only the numeric part. Okay, it only has got the numeric part. And now what I can do, I can simply convert this to a number. Right? Now you see the sales quantity also is a number. Okay, sales quantity also is a number. Now, let's try to look at the next column, that is the revenue column. Okay, now if you look at the revenue column, okay, so if you look at the values, what do you think is the data type of this?
The number.
Number, and to be specific, it's a decimal number, right? Because it has certain decimals as well.
Yes.
However, there's one more thing to be noted. If you look at the values here, okay, I'll just click on load more. And if I go on looking at all the values, there are certain values which I know are not of number type. Okay, and anyways, if I don't find it here, I'll definitely get an error if I try to convert it to number. Let's just try and do that. Okay, so revenue, what I'll do, I'll click on this, I'll convert it to the decimal number, and right now it happened without any problem. Okay, so let it be. Now, next I'll go to the stock. Okay, stock also seems to be the whole number, but let me just check. Okay. So yeah, it has certain decimals within it. And if I click on load more, yeah, it has the decimals. So what I'll do, I'll convert this to a decimal number. Okay, that's it. And then also there is price column, and there is, if I go to the values which are there in it, okay, I'll show you. Look, there are certain NA values in price column. Okay, there are certain NA values, and if I try to directly convert the price to the decimal number, then what might happen? Look, although it has converted right now, but I'm 100% sure that it will give me error if I try to load this data. Let me show it, okay? So, although it has converted here, let me show you where it will give you the error. So meanwhile, I'll go to next columns. Promo type seems to be ABC, same is the case here, same is the case here. And the delivery date, this needs to be what? The date, right? So I'll do that. And now look, I've done with all the transformations. Let's say I've done with all the transformations and I want to load this transformed data into Power BI. Then what I can do, I'll simply click on close and apply button. Then what will happen? This transformed data will get loaded into Power BI desktop. Okay. And now I'm 100% sure that we will be getting the errors. Let's just wait for it. Now, you know, there are certain errors. And if you want to view the error, you can either click here or you can go to the transform data as well. But I'll just click on here. It will take me to transform data anyway. That is the Power Query editor. Okay. Now, there is one more table which has been created just to highlight the errors. Okay. And let me show you what that exactly is. If I click on this and if I just scroll through the columns, now you can see there are two columns wherein at the bottom of those columns there is a bit of red color. Can you see this?
Yes.
So it means these two columns are causing the error. Okay? These two columns are causing the error. Now let's try to find out how they are causing the error. I'll just click on this error. Now what it says we could not convert it to number. What's the value that it could not convert it to number? This value, that is NA. So with respect to this column or basically the price column, what we need to do? Any suggestions?
We need to remove that, I mean, untick NA from the filter.
We need to first, we cannot remove the NA. If we remove the NA, what will happen?
Similar data will be, I mean, assigned to that other columns will be.
Yeah, other columns data also will be gone, right? And we don't want that to be happened. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll replace that NAs with nothing. Okay. So that way I can make sure that the data type change will happen. Okay. But for that to happen, I'll have to first delete that step because this step itself has caused the error. So I'll just delete this step. And then you see, when I deleted that step, all the, most of the, these things, that is, data types that I had established, they have gone. They had consolidated here. If you look at this sales quantity, revenue, stocks, they are also again back to being what? Strings. So I'll have to do them once again. But first what I'll do, I'll just replace the value from this column. And what's the value to be replaced? NA with nothing. I'll click on OK. And now what I'll do, I'll just make these four columns numbers once again. Sales quantity, the whole number, revenue, and yes, one more thing. There's a thing called as fixed decimal, and then there is a decimal. The fixed decimal is the decimal type which is used if the number actually denotes some monetary aspect. Now the revenue is a monetary aspect, so let me make it fixed decimal. So if I make something as a fixed decimal, if you see, there is a dollar sign here, which means it is a currency. Okay. And also in fixed decimal, we will always be having 2 decimal points. So that is the thing that needs to be noted. Now, next thing what I'll do is stock. I'll make it again the decimal number. Stock is a decimal. And then the price, I'll make it fixed decimal. Okay. So I again get the dollar sign. Now, let's look at the delivery date column, which also gave us the error, right? So if I look at the values, right, and if I click on load mode, I can check whether it has some unwanted values. And yes, I scroll through all of these and basically that did not have any unwanted values. Okay, so I'll just click on OK. That's not a problem. Then what might be the thing that might be causing an error when I'm trying to convert this to a date data type? Okay, now if you find that in the date data type, all values seems to be fine and still it's giving the error while you make it a date, then the problem will be this. You have to try this then. Okay, what is that? I'll just right click here. Okay, and I'll go to change type. Okay, and just don't mention the date here directly. You select using local. Okay, you click on using local. Okay, and then what you can do is first you need to change the data type here, which is the date, and the local that you select. Try to use the different local compared to what you are using by default. Now, if you remember, by default, the regional settings, we set it to English, United States. But now for this local, what I'll do, I'll try to use the different one. Let's say United Kingdom. Okay. Then I'll click on OK. And now you see the delivery date also is not giving any error. Okay. And the reason why what might cause this is the format in which the date is written across the different regions might change. If you look at the UK, then it will be DDMMYYYY. If you look at the US format, it will be MMDDYYYY. So that's the reason we try to change it and we'll try to see whether the data gets loaded correctly or not. Okay. Now let's try to again close and apply and see whether the data gets loaded correctly or not. I click on close and apply. Okay. Now you see the data is loaded and let's check in the table view whether we have all the records or not. Yeah. This seems to be uniform data now with all the blanks, the nulls, the NA values removed, and it has the suitable data types which have been mentioned here. So this seems quite perfect. Okay. Any doubt till now?
No, I don't have any doubts, but like uh, while you change like price and delivery date, you got error, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so the whatever the applied steps we done before that also got changed. I mean the data types.
Huh.
Uh,
Because if you remember,
yeah,
I
one
told
minute.
you that
Like I have
similar steps
one
will
minute.
be consolidated.
Yeah, yeah, one minute. Actually, I want to know like, can we change multiple data types? I mean,
Yes,
if
we can definitely do that.
okay,
Okay, we can change multiple data types. That's not a problem. Okay,
oh,
and also there is one particular step wherein it even uh, detects the data type as well. Okay, let me just check where that thing is. And if you click that, it will basically detect the data type for all the columns. Okay, but I usually don't use that because I want to manually check the data and apply, I mean, uh, implement the data types. Okay, but even that is available if you Look at this. Uh, um, there is a particular point where it has an option to detect
Yeah.
you see this?
Yes.
If you see this, if you click on this, it will detect the data type on its own and it will implement the data type. Okay. So that also is an option. Okay. Yeah. Now, let's also try to understand one more thing here, which is called as column profiling. Okay. So I'll go to View tab. Okay. Here, there are three things which we need to see. One is column quality, then there is column distribution, and then there is column profile. If I look at the column quality, right, if I select this, now if you see, for each column, we have three important things to be specific, that have been specified here. How many valid values are there in this column? How many errors are there in this column? And how many empty values are there in this column? Okay. All of them have been mentioned. Okay. Look here, for example, in the price column, 2% of the records are empty records, means they are blanks. Okay. So this detail you will get if you click on column quality. Now let's look at one more thing, that is column distribution. If you click on column distribution, now here what we have one more information, that is how many distinct values and how many unique values are there in that column. Now, the distinct value means how many different total different values are there. Distinct values are there. And unique means how many of these values occur only once, those unique values. So that is what is mentioned. The number of distinct values and number of unique values that each column has. Now, then there is one more thing, that is column profile. Now what it does is, it gives you the statistical aspect of each column. Now, look, if I select this order ID column, there's the column statistics which has been displayed here. The total count of values, if there are any errors, if there are any empty values, how many distinct values are there, how many unique values are there, okay, and how many not applicable records are there, if there are any zeros, and then what is the minimum value, what is the maximum value, what is the average value, and what's the standard deviation value. Okay, this will be helpful not in analyzing the columns like order ID, but definitely will be helpful in analyzing the columns like revenue. Okay. If you look at this, we will get to know what's the average revenue. Average revenue is this one, this value. Okay, and the other statistical aspects like the standard deviation, what's the minimum, what's the maximum, all these things. So the statistical aspects will be available if you click on the column profile. Okay, so in this way, these three options will be helpful for us. Okay, so yeah, this is the one. And then after applying these steps, I would also like to change the name of this table. I'll just make it orders 2017. That's it. Okay. And now that we have removed the errors from orders 2017, we don't require this particular table which highlighted just the error. Okay. So what I'll do, I can delete this as well. Okay. I'll just click on this. I'll just delete this group so that group as well as the query which was within that group, that is the error query or error table, is also deleted. Okay, and then I'll again click on close and apply so that again this data will be loaded into Power BI desktop. Now look, Power Query Editor, if you just consider that, it is kind of an automation. Now why I say automation, look, from the backend, okay, from the backend, if they add any new data, okay, if they add any new data, basically new records or more number of rows, okay, new data gets added, then what will happen? All of that data will pass through, and yes, this when you click on refresh, if I let's say click on refresh, then all of that data will first come into Power Query Editor, and then it will pass through all these steps, okay, all these applied steps. And after coming here, only then, after passing through all the applied steps, then it will get loaded into Power BI Desktop, okay. So it is a kind of an automation is what we can call it, okay. Once the applied steps are done, and again, if you press refresh, the new data will pass through these steps, and then only it will come into Power BI Desktop. Hope this point is clear. Okay. So yeah, any doubt with respect to what we covered today?
No, everything.
Okay. So yeah, we will again continue this in next class. Okay. And I'll just stop this today's session. And before that, let me just stop the recording. And yeah, today's file, I'll just, if possible, I'll just post it in the group so that you can go through the classwork and yeah, the practice yourself as well. Okay.